So, LeVar, get ready to take center stage.
There we go.
Right? So,
I am the only black man in the room on the microphone. Here we go.
Warren Moon, the Hall of Fame quarterback, the Houston Oiler great. Yes, for you newbie fanboys who just came around over the last few years, they were the Houston Oilers well before they were the Tennessee Titans and before the Houston Texans. It was the Houston Oilers, one of the great uniform combinations in all of the NFL. And Warren Moon, legendary career, known mostly for those years with the Houston Oilers, but he had a conversation with TMZ Sports about another quarterback, this quarterback being Kyler Murray, who, it was in the news that there was a study clause or a be prepared clause for his games that was wiped out. They've gotten rid of that clause, did the Arizona Cardinals, and Warren Moon decided, let's just go ahead and take this to another level, and here was his thoughts on the Kyler Murray clause in the contract and where it stands overall.
It's just an unfortunate situation. It's a embarrassing situation for not only the player Kyler Murray, but it's embarrassing for the organization to have to deal with this. I think it shows a lack of trust in the player that you even have to put something in a contract like this. It also is a slap in the face to all African-American quarterbacks, because that's something we were always accused of back in the day when they didn't let us play, is that we were lazy, that we didn't study, that we couldn't be leaders, that we weren't smart. So all those different things just kind of came to the surface after we had put all that stuff to bed over the years, just because of this deal that's gone on between Arizona and Kyler.
All right, take it away, LeVar.
Listen, I can sympathize with him on the sense that he feels the way he feels based off of his experiences. I'll say that. But to say that this, and I'll say this, we talked about this. So me, TJ, and Plex talked about this weekend. I kind of feel like the code that was cracked here was kind of interesting, all right? And they say 4 hours, all right? 4 hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days before Friday, and maybe you take a Friday into it, maybe you take one of the other days and you don't use that. 4 hours. Is it possible to think that they were basically putting in his contract saying that he needed to sit down with his coach for an hour either before practice or after practice to watch film, to continue to study? Now, to me, I'm not going to take that into every single black quarterback is dumb or can't comprehend or can't learn offenses, because I think that would be ridiculous to ever go down that road, because we've seen plenty of black quarterbacks have high success in the National Football League. I mean, the hottest quarterback in the game, arguably outside of Aaron Rodgers or maybe Tom Brady, is a black quarterback. In fact, maybe the next two after that are black quarterbacks. So to me, I'm not a black quarterback, so I'm not a part of that elite fraternity of guys, but I can understand from his experiences, maybe that might have conjured up some emotions for him as it applies to this in particular. But if you're investing the type of money that you're investing in somebody who's going to work for you, and you're putting in stipulations and you're putting in clauses, it could be considered to be a tad bit touch sensitive to sit there and go all the way off the rails and say this is racist, this is an embarrassment, this is an indictment on how people feel about black quarterbacks. I think that could be. To me, I'm not going down that road, because I just know, as a person that tries to do business and do it at a high level, if there's something that I can put in a clause of a contract that's going to protect my investment in any employee that I'm going to hire, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm not looking at it and basing it off of the color of their skin. I'm basing it off of the results and the production that I want to get. And I just started thinking to myself, because we were talking about 4 hours. Like, 4 hours sounds weird Like, that doesn't sound right. That's not a significant enough amount of time to say, you got to go do this on your own, and we're paying you, or we're putting this in a clause where you got to go do it. I think it's almost like we talked about, if you're the quarterback, generally speaking, you should be the first guy in, and you should be the last guy leaving. Like, that's just kind of what comes along with the territory of being the main guy on a team. Just maybe they're like, we're going to help you. And you know what? We're putting that clause in your contract. We're going to sit with you for an hour a day. Maybe it's 30 minutes before practice, and we get time to talk and go through the film or go through the game plan. Maybe it's 30 minutes after practice, whatever it may be. But it just seems as though 4 hours, you're building that into a schedule that he probably should already have anyway. That's kind of how I took it.
So the first thing I'd say, just as a rebuttal to Warren Moon, is if you're going to take one contract and apply it to everyone, then why not take Deshaun Watson's contract, which is the highest paid, largest contract in NFL history to an African-American quarterback who didn't play a year ago, is currently about to be suspended here in a few hours. What would you view that as? Like, that's my only kind of rebuttal or question to him. Is like, let's not sit here and take every single or individual, contract and apply it to everyone, because it's completely unfair to all involved. This scenario probably played out for exactly a lot of the reasons LeVar is talking about. There was a concern about Kyler Murray and whether he's the first guy in, last guy out, and they're maybe trying to structure it to help him with that, or they're trying to say, because based on the clause, it wasn't that he would be staying longer at the facility. It was actually just trying to get him to do more work when he's away from the facility, which they can track all that stuff now. So they know how much you're watching when you're on their actual app and watching tape and all that. So my inclination is more like, hey, Kyler, when you leave here, it's not like you stop being the Arizona Cardinals quarterback. You're still the Arizona Cardinals quarterback. We need you to continue to prepare even though you're not here. And it's probably trying to cut away, some of that responsibility. So when he does get home, he's still watching film. He's still trying to get ahead and prepare for the next day. All those things, I think, are probably more things they were trying to be constructive with and trying to help him become the player he can become. I don't know that it was racially motivated by any means. But again, like, it's hard to have these conversations because you have people who take this one circumstance and apply it to everyone. And it's like, okay, well, then take Deshaun Watson's contract. How would you then describe that, Warren? Like, how would you then look at that contract? Because I don't know that it warranted the compensation and a full guarantee for anything he's done so far. Lamar Jackson's more deserving. There's other quarterbacks who are more deserving. But they're probably not going to get that contract. So what do you chalk that up to? I mean, it's just, to me, it's just, this is an individual circumstance where you had a team who wanted to, in my opinion, put Kyler Murray on notice in regards to what he was not doing as their leader, as their quarterback outside of the facility. And that's, again, now it doesn't matter because the clause is ripped up. But as we talked about, earlier about this, it's out there. Like, if things don't work out, they're going to have this as one of the things that add up to why he's no longer their quarterback in the future.
And if you're going to be upset with anyone, be upset with Kyler Murray's agent. Be upset with his agent. If there's going to be if there's racism involved, if there's prejudice involved, you know what?
Then why'd he sign the deal?
Be upset with his agent, because the agent's job. Because to me, I've always said, if the classic definition of an agent is to seek out and find. Did you guys realize that? If you hire an agent is going out to seek and find something, whether it's a person, whether it's a job, whether it's a deal, whether it's whatever it may be. Agents are hired to go to get things done. Well, when you're a player that is already getting a job, you already have your job, you're already going to get a whole lot of money, you're not looking for anything. So the least you could do is protect the interest of your client. And I'm going to tell you, I'm very touch sensitive about agents effing up contracts. Believe you me, we could do a whole show on how I feel about agents effing up contracts.
You get fined quite a bit, though, if we're doing a show like that.
Right, so my whole thing is, listen, Warren, I got nothing but respect for the OG. And he's like, Warren Moon is a dope dude. On this one, you're wrong. This one's incorrect. Now, I understand where he's coming from. Like I said, experiences can dictate what your perception of reality is. But here's what I'd say. If I asked you two, being both white males,
way to blow our cover on radio.
I'm sorry to do that, but just for the point I'm trying to make, I got to do that. All right. Would you guys be terribly offended if how much is the contract? How much is it?
$160 million guaranteed, and it was I forget, like all these numbers.
Would you be terribly offended if in $100 million plus guaranteed contract that there was language in there that said you needed to study an extra 4 hours weekly for a game? Would you be terribly offended?
I would be excited about being able to accomplish that clause. Like that, I'd be like, oh. Okay,
that might be the easiest clause you have in your contract.
Yeah. Right.
But yet we turn everything into such offensive things. If you told me I only had to get 4 hours of lifting in during the course of a week, 4 hours of studying in the off season to collect a 200,000, like my clause I think was 200,000 to 300,000 I would get for my workout clause. And you said, oh, by the way, and you have to study for an hour a day. You got to get 4 hours of studying in during the course of the week. I'm just telling you, I'm not offended by that. I'm not. Sometimes people need to learn what it takes to do what they need to do better.
And not everybody gets incentivized to do it.
And not everybody gets it. In fact, not only do you not get incentivized, but if you don't learn how to do it, you don't get awarded a contract, for one. And for two, it could possibly lead to you losing your job. Ask Josh Rosen. Didn't he get drafted to them?
Yeah.
Wasn't he a top draft pick?
Yeah, top
How
10.
long did that last?
A year.
Okay. Was that racist? Was it racist to get rid of Josh Rosen as quickly as they did? Was that racist? I mean, if the outrage isn't always going to be like, quarterbacks are quarterbacks. So in the end, if you're coming out and you're having outrage about something that happens to one and not others, it's kind of like takes away the validity of all of it. Like, for me, if a white quarterback, and I know everybody always says, well, here go where the Uncle Tom dudes go when stuff like this, but it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. I'm not an Uncle Tom at all. I'm as OG as it gets. But if they had put that clause on a white quarterback's contract, would there be any quarterbacks coming out with outrage about this being some type of prejudice towards white quarterbacks? Would this be and people are like, well, that might be a dumb point to make because obviously white quarterbacks aren't judged that way. But the bottom line is that one quarterback is being judged that way. That quarterback that gets that clause in their contract is being judged that way. So what's the problem? What is the problem? Now it doesn't go from being it's about your job and how that your employer, by the way, wants you to do your job. It now goes into something different. And you're basing it off of the color of somebody's skin. I just don't know that's, to me, I'm not willing to put my good name on that. I'm not going to die on that hill for this discussion. I don't think that we're helping equality and equity and inclusion and equal rights by sitting there dying on the hill about a 4-hour study clause for a black quarterback. I don't see it that way.
Yeah. Very
So it's kind of hard. That's kind of a hard one to kind of comprehend. But again, I didn't go through what Warren Moon went through as a black quarterback either, so I can see it from his perspective. I just don't think that it's relevant to every single black quarterback that's ever played this game.